unpacking today's headlines. This is Souls and Liberty in Depth.
Hello everyone and welcome to In Depth, the production of Souls and Liberty, brought to you in partnership with MyPillow.
The DOJ is engaging in an activity of monitoring the political activities of individuals. They're literally wanting to sit down and censor what is happening in the public square.
A blessed All Hallows Eve to everyone. We are at the last weekend before the election, and while all eyes are on voting and all of that, something else actually sinister is going on. Here to talk about it is Federal Election Commissioner Trey Trainor, who recently wrote this editorial piece published in the Washington Examiner. You can see it right there. Hello, Trey. Thanks for coming on. Look, this is a very disturbing turn of events, so just get the audience up to date on what happened.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Gary. It really is a disturbing turn of events because what you have is the Department of Justice continuing to criminalize the participation of people in the political sphere. What they've done here is they've attacked Elon Musk's super PAC known as America PAC, and they've said that his $1 million a day giveaway might violate federal law. They didn't cite specifically anything that says that it does violate federal law. And so they've sent a letter. It's kind of a shot across the bow type letter. And for me, for the United States to engage in this type of activity in the name of the people, the Department of Justice, it's just frankly deplorable that we would see something like that happen.
From your, obviously you're an attorney, but is there something in your legal background that would say, oh yeah, what Musk is doing, and again, it's this $1 million a day giveaway for signing a petition. That's what it is, supporting the Constitution. Is there anything in your legal background and your extensive background in elections and campaigns and that sort of thing that you could point to and say this may be what Merrick Garland's talking about or hinting at? I mean, if I can do whatever I want with my money as long as it's not illegal, and if you don't tell somebody that's against the law, well, then what's the problem?
Well, I think so what you've identified is exactly what the problem is. Merrick Garland cannot identify any violation of the law that's occurred. So instead, they just send a letter saying, oh, you might want to take a closer look at this. And I can assure you that a man as sophisticated as Elon Musk has had his lawyers look at everything and all of the election laws related to it. The only thing that comes close is there's a federal law that prohibits you from paying somebody to vote or paying somebody to register to vote. But on its face, the petition itself says that you have to be a registered voter. So they're not paying you to register to vote, and there's no incentive for you to go vote. The petition itself says, I support the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. And once you sign it, your name is entered for potentially winning $1 million. There's nothing illegal about what's going on here. And that's what's so disturbing about the fact that the Department of Justice takes this leap to say that, oh, you might want to take a closer look at it. If the Department of Justice can't identify what is illegal, they need to keep their hands out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely we want to let you know we're looking at you sort of moment. Elon Musk has sat on stage quite a few times and told this sort of thing, and people threatening him and ads going away. He's essentially told him, well, literally, he has said F off, and he didn't say F. Well, look, he's not the richest man in the world on the planet, probably in human history, for nothing.
Well, what I think is disturbing about this is that we know about the Elon Musk situation. What I'm more concerned about is what do we not know of what's coming out of the Public Integrity Unit at the Department of Justice? Who are the other individuals that have received letters saying, hey, you need to be cautious about the activity that you've engaged in? Yeah. Elon Musk has the resources to be able to fight the Department of Justice, and so they're not going to scare him into not speaking. But how many people are scared into not speaking and engaging in regular protected First Amendment activity? How many are scared into doing that because they receive a letter from the Department of Justice? And as I've said many times before, they want to make the process the punishment. They're not really going after them for any type of illegal activity. They want to punish them by putting them through the ringer of this process. Yeah. And I hope we have a chance to get into this, but I think that the letter from the Department of Justice is a green light for other agencies of state government, other arms of state government to go after these individuals. I think we've seen that happen in Philadelphia. I've talked about in the past about what happened with Alvin Bragg and the prosecution of Donald Trump in New York. I mean, all of these things are interrelated to the activities that the Department of Justice is engaged in.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just before we go to our break real quick here, I don't even know if you're aware of it. YouTube actually started throttling back the Joe Rogan interview with Trump, so much so that it inspired a letter to YouTube from Jim Jordan saying, yo, YouTube, what the hell? What are you doing here with this? Why are you dialing this thing back? We'll see where that goes as well. I mean, it's funny that they go after Elon Musk, whose major reason for being in this is because of censorship. And now they're kind of trying to pull the cords and rip the rug out from under him, proving his point. All right, when we come back, more on the brazen attempt to ultimately intimidate voters using Trump and Elon Musk and all those sorts of people. We'll be right back. The establishment has tried to assassinate President Trump twice, but we can't really be shocked that those who slaughter 1 million unborn babies each year would try to kill one more human being who stands in the way of their diabolical agenda. Trump, like every one of us, including all of us at Souls and Liberty, is a sinner. But like all of us, he is in the fight and fighting for all of us to get one more chance, maybe a last chance to save the republic. We must hang together, or as Benjamin Franklin said, we shall hang separately. And maybe far sooner than many imagine, because communists take over and always persecute Christians and Catholics in particular. Let us help you fight these forces of evil. Become a monthly supporter today so we can continue giving you the information, the tools of our faith, and the support network you need to go out and save souls and save our nation. Join our merry band of happy warriors and click below to get into the fight. We need you, we need each other. Join the resistance. Become a monthly donor today. All right, welcome back, everyone. Trey, I'm going to put a quote here up on the screen from your article and then ask you to elaborate. You said, the DOJ's actions seem to reflect an alarming belief that political participation is a privilege to be monitored and controlled rather than a fundamental right guaranteed to every American. What precisely is the DOJ doing here in these actions?
Well, the DOJ is engaging in an activity of monitoring the political activities of individuals. They're literally wanting to sit down and censor what is happening in the public square, what speech is allowed and what isn't allowed. And this all stems from the fact that, people call things disinformation. I mean, all it is information. It's either correct or incorrect, but everyone has the right to put out whatever information they believe to be important. And so here the Department of Justice is monitoring information and saying, we want to censor that. We want to stop that. We don't like where this is going. We don't like the outcome that's going to be achieved here. And so they're trying to throttle back that activity by sending a letter saying, hey, you might want to think about whether or not this is or isn't illegal. And again, you're the Department of Justice. If it's illegal, you take it to a grand jury and you bring a lawsuit. If it isn't illegal, you sit down and shut up.
Yeah, bingo. That's perfect. Is there a you mentioned in your article, by the way, very well written. Yeah, it's just, if we're putting it there, it's going to be down there. Everybody, you should read the article. It's brief, but Trey, man, you're a great writer, by the way.
Thank you.
Right to the point, kind of like your interviews. One of the things that you noted near the beginning of the article that was kind of a eye popper for you was that the DOJ was just very open about this. Normally if you're doing these kind of clandestine, sinister, kind of man behind the curtain kind of deals, you're kind of sneaky about it. You were kind of caught off, maybe not caught off guard, but sort of like, whoa, that they just said, yep, here's what we're doing.
No, it's completely surprising to me that they've done this in this particular case, especially in light of the fact, I mean, I testified in front of the House Judiciary Committee that the Department of Justice would not get involved to protect the jurisdiction of the Federal Election Commission over free speech activity. They would not get involved in that case, even though it's a clear area where the Federal Election Commission has jurisdiction over it, and they need to be involved, and they wouldn't do it. And here, they on their own just go out and pick up what's happening with the super PAC and say we want to monitor the activities of that. Again, treading on the jurisdiction of the commission that I serve on, the Federal Election Commission. If there's anything going on bad with the super PAC, it's something that we ought to take a look at. And again, there's been no complaint filed. There's been nothing that we've been asked to look at here because nobody has seen anything. The Department of Justice doesn't like that. So they've taken it upon themselves to send out letters saying, oh, you might want to be cautious about what you're doing here. And we cannot have the federal government in the business of monitoring the speech of individuals. They've done it here with Elon Musk. And again, I fear that they're doing it with others. I don't know who else it is that they've done this with, but if they've been willing to do it with him, you know, the richest man in the world, how many people who aren't the richest man in the world have received similar letters because somebody at the Department of Justice is sitting down and going through the political speech of individual Americans?
Yeah, I mean, this is much more somebody could look at and say, well, you know, this is just, Trey Traynor thinks this is just his, you know, fire hydrant, and he's a little irritated that Merrick Garland's coming over pissing on his fire hydrant. But it's actually not, I mean, that is going on, not your irritation part of it, but that is a reality. But more so is the much larger context in which this is happening, right?
Well, I think this is a coordinated scheme. And I think what we've seen just today, I mean, just before we came on this show today, in Philadelphia, a judge has listened to a case where the district attorney in Philadelphia, much like Alvin Bragg, has inserted himself into the political process and how money is spent in politics, and is claiming that this $1 million giveaway by America PAC is somehow an illegal lottery in the state of Pennsylvania, and they want to stop it. And so they filed a lawsuit to stop it. And now a federal judge has said, well, I can't hear the case because the smart lawyers who are handling Elon Musk's case said, well, we want that case handled in a federal court as opposed to a state court. And again, that's what should have happened in the Alvin Bragg case in New York. It's something it's a federal question. It should be handled there. Here you have diversity jurisdiction in between Elon Musk, a resident of Texas, and the state of Pennsylvania. So it should, in fact, be dealt with by a federal court. And I think a federal court will very quickly get a hold of this and say, no, this is clear First Amendment activity. But all of that is green lighted in Pennsylvania to the district attorney in Philadelphia, because the Department of Justice sent out a letter drawing attention to this and saying, hey, it's okay for other jurisdictions to look at this. And again, it is the pure criminalization of ordinary Americans participating in politics, and something that we should all be afraid of.
Yeah, it is very frightening. You know, I'll take one more quick break here, but to this point, to the larger point about it being frightening, when we come back, Trey, I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. If a Harris win happens, what would that mean in the context of the DOJ investigating citizens for participating in the political process? Much to consider here. We'll be right back.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of wholesale pricing for the first time ever on TV, including my standard size MyPillow, only $14.88. They've never been offered this low before. We have limited quantities at this price, so limit's going to be 10, and once they're gone, they're gone.
No matter who wins in November, we have to embrace that we are living in a post-Christendom culture. And the heart of that is a rejection of the gospel. As one item on our agenda to combat this, Souls and Liberty is hosting our first annual retreat at sea. You might be familiar with the annual event we produced for over 10 years at Church Militant. Dr. Jules Gomez, our Rome correspondent, and I are going to be doing the presenting, and the theme is Christians in Exile Triumphing in Adversity, which provides a whole range of discussions to think about. Now, we sail out of Galveston, Texas to the Western Caribbean November 10th to the 17th, yes, right after the election. I think all of us are probably going to need it one way or the other. Please join us for serious discussion, spiritual preparation, and bonding, very important, bonding with fellow Catholics. Registration information is provided below and on our site at soulsandliberty.com/retreat@sea 2024. So sign up and we hope to see you there. All right, welcome, Trey. One could only imagine what's going to be going on. Be like DOJ investigations on steroids if Harris were to win.
Well, I think you're going to continue to see the same thing that we have seen thus far. From there will be no changes at the Department of Justice, first and foremost. I mean, you'll have the same actors who've decided to go after individuals will continue to be in power there, and so you won't see any change at the top. I mean, there may be a change in the Attorney General, but especially not changes in the Public Integrity Division there. And so, at the end of the day, we're going to continue to see the persecution of people. And it's amazing to me. It really is a sense of projection from the Harris Walls campaign that they talk about Donald Trump sitting in the White House making an enemies list. The only enemies list that I've seen are the people that have been gone after, whether they be Elon Musk and Donald Trump, to the individuals that I've testified in front of Congress about, who have been put through the ringer for just engaging in ordinary, everyday political activity. They just don't like the type of speech that they have. They don't like that these people are, in fact, conservatives and talking about conservative policies. It's probably why Joe Biden calls these people garbage. He does not like what they have to say. And so at the end of the day, he's going to demonize them. And once you demonize them, it makes it okay for you to go after them with the legal apparatuses of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Steve Bannon, who just got out of prison. He's in prison for 4 months, and I think it was a week beyond his sentence before he got let out. All the J6 people, false charges brought up on stuff. I mean, the problem here isn't that half of America is, sort of pro-patriot or patriotic. It's that the other half of America, through cheating and scheming and lying and the invasion that we've gone over many times in these shows, over decades, has seized control of the power apparatus. It's not just, one citizen against another. It's one citizen plus that apparatus of the government that is now being trained on patriots. So let's wrap up with your closing thoughts about that.
Well, at the end of the day, we need to be deeply, deeply concerned about the Department of Justice engaging in this type of activity. We need to be concerned about them going after individual citizens who can't afford to fight them, people who can't afford to go to Philadelphia and have themselves tried as to whether or not they're engaging in legitimate First Amendment activity. You're going to see nothing but that continue under a Harris-Walls administration as it has under the Biden-Harris administration. It's something that we need to see change in the department. There has to be a change in the culture at the Department of Justice, and that's only going to change when there's a leadership change in the executive office.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so there's 100 reasons why Trump has to win. This is another one of them. Trey Traynor coming to us from Austin, Texas this morning. And we want to point out that Trey's comments are his personal thoughts and opinions. He, like all of us, is an American citizen who has a First Amendment right to free speech, at least for the time being, if you know what I mean. And as a citizen like that, he is not speaking on behalf of the Federal Election Commission, but himself as a devout practicing Catholic and American patriot. Thanks for joining us, Trey. God bless you, man.
Thanks, Gary.
All right.
Thank you. This
is it, guys. This is the last weekend. Early voting wraps up tomorrow. Then it's Election Day voting. All I can say, and I'm going to say it as plainly and directly as I can, if you are a Christian, if you are a believer in Christ, if you are a Protestant or a Catholic who has not voted or don't think you should, let me say it plainly. Get off your ass and go vote. Western civilization is in the tipping point balance right here. And I'll tell you what they say. If the communists get voted in, the only way that they get taken out is to have a shootout. That's it. Every single communist government is a tyranny, and these people are tyrannies. And you have a moral obligation for love of self and love of neighbor to not let these communist bastards lock down and take complete and total control. The richest man in the world has said it to you. If they manage to win this election, and the only way to avoid that is to swamp that vote, if they do manage to steal this election, it will be the last election. All those 20 million immigrants in here will just be naturalized so that they're ready to vote in the next thing, and it will be completely like California. That's it. Get off your ass and vote. God love you. I'm Gary Michael Voris.